Welcome to episode 7 of March Malcontent. Our first match is going to be between Pokemon Trainer and Sheik. So this is the start of the second round of the qualifiers. What this means is that for the first round, everyone who won that round made it into the tournament. For the second round, everyone who loses the round will not be making it into the tournament, guaranteed. We've got much fewer spots than we have remaining contenders, so we gotta start weeding people out of the system at some point. So I've decided that if you lose 2 matches in a row, you just don't get to be in the tournament this year. It's actually pretty similar to how we had it last year. I can't believe Pokemon Trainer already died. That was a completely preventable death. Well, I guess you do have someone following you around the stage trying to kill you, so I don't know if I can call it completely preventable. However, Pokemon Trainer could have definitely grabbed the stage there, and did not. Forward air getting the trip on Sheik. Pretty much every move, with, if there's any exceptions, I don't know them, in this game can trip. Tripping being a semi-random mechanic, certain moves have a much higher rate of tripping. Those are usually like the low sweep type moves. Pretty much anything where it looks like you're kicking their shins, that probably has an increased chance to trip. Other moves, oh, Pokemon Trainer, why? Other moves can trip. However, the corollary for that is that if the opponent gets knocked off the ground, they can't trip. If they get knocked off stage, they obviously can't trip. So it's normally moves hitting at a very low percent, and I believe it even has an increased chance if they're hitting the lower part of the character. An entire mechanic with different body, limb adjustment calculations that doesn't show up that much in normal gameplay. Unless, of course, you're using one of those tripping moves, in which case you are very much relying on it tripping your opponent, because that usually leads to an extra follow-up on your end. Squirtle canceling the withdrawal before rolling off the side of the stage. And also a great switch into Ivysaur there, acting kind of as an extra air dodge. Oh, Sheik's taking a lot of damage really fast. Things are not looking great. Very high recovery ledge grab from Ivysaur. I didn't know he could actually grab the ledge from that high up. Successfully grabbing the stage. Sheik's at a pretty high percent though. Starts getting off a combo. With the platform arrangements we have now, it's going to be harder to kill opponents off the top. However, Charizard is he's basically a heavyweight character, so he probably has enough knockback to negate that. Did that back air just save Charizard's life and he was able to end Sheik with it? Well, that match went pretty quick. Alright, and for this match we're going to be having Samus against Baytwotta. Looks like they're going to be on Castle Siege. A little bit of a smaller stage. This doesn't normally affect the amiibo as much, simply because characters like the Samus amiibo normally aren't super keen on spamming projectiles. I guess that does kind of make it more fun for the human opponents. But certain projectile-based characters definitely, well, they depend on their projectiles effectively giving them an incredibly long reach. But it does also mean that it's easier to train projectile-based characters, because also if their opponent ever has a reflector, not being able to not excessively spam projectiles would be a big problem. I feel like there's some sort of trade-off there, and I don't think the player is given quite enough control to fully dictate how it should be going. Oh, Samus actually tried to go for a spike there, but Bayonetta kicked her in the face first. Early air dodge. Get it, and that actually killed Baytwotta, just barely off the side of the stage. And a vicious stomp. Alright, this is now a 2-stock game. It's only been like a minute as well. Alright, both characters just trading aerials with each other. Not really sure who came out ahead. I guess you could say they both lost. Okay, so Samus just hit Baytwotta with a very up-close charge shot. You'll actually normally see that a lot. Well, they just barely couldn't hit each other. You'll actually see it a lot because the up-close charge shot has just enough hit stun that Samus can usually follow up with something. But it looks like the amiibo didn't know that, so it just panic launched off the tiny charge shot and had nothing to do after that. Now, Baytwotta probably could have extended that combo just a little bit further, but I'm actually fine with her not, specifically because some of these amiibo have a tendency of accidentally ending themselves off stage. Bayonetta is actually one of them. She's a character who has a lot of just mix-up opportunities in her recovery. Very flexible. She gets 1 by default, and if you hit your opponent, you get 2 of her slide heel kick moves. She can get 2 witch twists if she uses her double jump, and you can actually cancel that. So you can witch twist, double jump, cancel, witch twist, and then you get your... the game actually calls it the sneaky double jump, or possibly the sneaky witch twist. The game calls it sneaky for some reason. And Bayonetta does also have an air dodge at the end of that. Bayonetta actually has a shorter air dodge range than most characters, probably to make up for the fact that her recovery is insane otherwise. Kind of a symptom of Smash 4 actually not having directional air dodges, that certain characters did need to have their recoveries adjusted because they would have been too good otherwise. Oh, interesting, hitting Samus on the platform with the down smash instead of with an up smash. So despite Bayonetta as a character having a very versatile recovery, the amiibo still find ways to kill themselves. And in all fairness, for real players, if you don't know exactly how it works, or if you mess up anything, then you quickly run out of as much recovery as you thought. Especially when it comes with just sheer vertical distance. You need to do everything in the right order, and if you accidentally double jump first, that drastically shortens how much recovery you have. However, most characters don't send characters low off stage in a recoverable state, so it's not as important as having the obscene horizontal recovery on top of having a just fine vertical recovery. Alright, Bayonetta's looking for a kill here. Samus needs to start racking up damage, but she just keeps eating all of these hits. Forward air triple combo again. Doesn't kill, but it is racking up even more damage. The more damage the opponent has, the more likely anything will kill. Bayonetta does have a lot of combo moves. But also Samus is at about almost 200%, so even if she hits a random killable move, it's probably going to. Up tilt hitting through the platform. Bayonetta sent off stage, able to recover. Goes a little high. Neutral air, that's not one of Bayonetta's kill moves. She used to be throwing out something like back air, possibly a smash attack that worked for her in the past. Bayonetta, I thought, was going to self-destruct, and then she didn't. Keeping Samus at about 200%. Not really taking much damage herself. Back air near the... Okay, I guess that's how we're going to end that match. Alright, we're going to be having Dark Pit against Min Man. Going to be on WarioWare. Probably not super great for Min Min because Dark Pit's going to be able to carry her off to the sides a lot. Also, that side special is probably going to kill her at least one of the stocks this game. And of course, the verticality of the platforms. Min Min doesn't appreciate when people can jump over her noodly appendages. She does have a little bit she can do. You can actually see there she was able to twist the Ram. That's the disc arm that isn't the dragon head right now. She can angle it slightly, and she was able to angle that upwards to hit on a platform, but it doesn't hit, you know, at forehead range immediately in front of her. So it does have elevation, but it does have that spacing requirement. Dark Pit, able to make it to the ledge. The blast zones on this stage are, first of all, a lot more in than you'd consider for most other stages. With, I guess, the exception of the top blast zone. The top blast zone's kind of high up there. but the side blast zones are really close, and the bottom blast zone is rather close as well, especially for a stage with solid walls on the side. Normally you'd like to go for wall jumps to maybe mix up your recovery some. However, because the blast zones are so close, it's often difficult to get close enough to the stage to do that without dying. Min sliding around, actually does hit Dark Pit. Down smash at the ledge. She goes for an edge guard, off stage even. Rolls in, gets directly caught by a jab. So there is no hard and fast rule for how to avoid get-up pressure from your opponent. However, some general guidelines I can give you is that if you roll into them, you're more likely to get hit by a smash attack, because that's where the opponent is, not where they will be. If you're ever rolling in, you're usually hoping to roll past the opponent so that their attack overshoots you. Staying in place is always an option. You actually get to neutral get up in place, you can get up attack in place. And I think if you don't do anything for long enough, your character will automatically stand up as well. And that is especially useful because if you roll away from the opponent every time, some characters have something that can absolutely punish that. Usually faster characters have an easier time with it. But also you might not always get to roll away because you might be rolling towards the ledge. And if so, then it effectively cuts off one of your options. Because if you cannot roll off the ledge, which you can't when you're doing a get-up roll, then you stop at it, and the rolling animation is longer than the neutral get-up animation. So basically, if you miss your tech near the ledge, it cuts off one of your options. Dark Pit doing a pretty good job of just keeping Min Min in hit stun for most of this match. Fully charged up smash, not enough to kill, but it did do damage. Min Min finally gets a hit back in. She's going to need to get a lot of hits back in, though, if she wants to win. Oh, she actually got a kill. But can she get another, and then another, before she dies? Odds aren't looking too great in her favor. Min Min rolling away, running in, and smash attacking the wrong direction. And there's an example of the side blast zones being incredibly close. I didn't think Min Min was going to die there, but she did. Alright, now we've got Bowser against Sonic. Looks like we're going to be on Wily's Castle for this one. Large, flat stage. This is hazards off. However, I do believe certain platform arrangements do appear. Actually, you know what? I think they might not. It's been a while. It's hard to know all the stages in this game. I feel like I can't go 3 episodes without accidentally misnaming one of the stages. Let alone having to know what each stage does under specific conditions. Sonic makes that back. Actually, air dodges through Bowser's down tilt. Bowser's down tilt is a great move to hit people trying to get to the ledge with. Also forward tilt. Bowser's a little bit spoiled for choice in that respect. He has to choose which move he thinks is better in that situation. Most other characters just have a obvious best ledge trapping move. I guess it's edge guarding because the opponent hasn't hit the ledge yet. One of those fuzzy definitions that we have in this game. Well, it's not even in the game, it's just the community had to come up with a term for it. And at least they're self-explanatory enough that people can usually catch on after hearing it a couple of times. There are some other terminology that I personally try not to use because they're either convoluted or just weird, strange, difficult to understand at a glance. Bowser tech rolling in. Bowser actually has a really bad tech roll. He's used it more than once this match, so if you ever see him use it again, you'll know what I mean. It doesn't go much distance, and he's such a large character and it doesn't have advanced invincibility to compensate. I'm actually fine with it because the character does need some sort of weakness. However, it does specifically mean that if you're ever Bowser going against a Ganondorf who uses the Dark Choke, his side special on you, that you basically can't avoid the follow-up. grabbing Sonic out of midair. That is something that's different from Smash Brothers compared to, I guess I'd call them traditional fighting games. Traditional fighting games, once your opponent's feet leave the ground, they are invincible to being grabbed. Not the case in Smash Brothers. That being said, that if someone's jumping off the ground, since you can only grab them when you're on the ground, it's usually pretty hard to hit them. With the grab, I mean. Simply because they're off the ground and you, by definition, are. It still does happen, but not nearly as often as a normal grab. Down air, missing Sonic. Bowser probably should have angled it to the right. I guess you don't angle it, but you can steer yourself slightly when you're falling. One of the few mix-ups Bowser has in that situation. Bowser gets the tech. Back on stage, Sonic barely rolling through his forward tilt. Makes it back on a stage, but the landing lag gets him punished by Sonic again. Forward tilt, great move. It can be a kill move, just not from center stage at that percent. Oh, forward throw out the ledge actually will kill. Bowser, being the heaviest character in the game, by weight at least, does not have a problem finding kill moves. In fact, I'd probably guess like half of his moves kill, and the other half do other useful things, so they're by no means useless. One of the perks of being a heavyweight character is that normally your speed and or mobility is hindered in some way, but your moves are a lot better to compensate. If you ever see someone who's making a ranking every move in Smash Brothers, or ranking a character's best move sort of video. Oh, forward air, that's gonna kill. Good job to Bowser. By fighting well, he's earned the right to fight another day. Alright, up next we've got Chrom against Little Mac. Looks like they're going to be on Arena Pharaoh. Pharaoh? Not entirely sure how it's pronounced. I've seen it spelled, just not said out loud. Now, they do have the arrangement here, which, if you didn't know, this stage actually has different platform layouts. With hazards on, it will normally switch between them, but for hazards off, we're going to be staying on this arrangement for the whole match. It does have some high platforms, which is a little bit difficult for Little Mac specifically to pressure. However, it does also give him another platform option which he can stand on. But also the existence of platforms makes it... And they traded there, but Chrom got hit by a KO punch, so he died, and Little Mac didn't, so he lived. So you can see right there, Little Mac actually had options of where to land. He could have landed on the top platform or one of the smaller... I guess they're actually larger. One of the side platforms. Little Mac, a character who loves to stay grounded. Is Chrom going to make that? No, he doesn't. Alright, this might be an incredibly quick match, guys. Chrom is usually the amiibo in these tournaments who fails upwards, in that he always seems to accidentally kill opponents while trying to recover to the stage. Little Mac kept his jump. Not going to be able to make that back. So I guess that does mean that Little Mac is probably our Chrom amiibo's worst matchup, because Little Mac has a hard enough time making it back to the stage anyway. Killing him on accident while trying to recover, while going way off to edgeguard him, just isn't a winning trade for Chrom, because you can just smack Little Mac off stage to his death anyway. And since Little Mac is so bad at recovering, he's... If you do kill him, it's not that much of a difference. And a KO punch is going to take that match. Wow, I guess that means you won't be seeing Chrom this year, but you will be seeing Little Mac. Looks like we're going to be having Mr. Game & Watch against Mewtwo. Regrettably, both of these characters are going to be gray for this match. I guess Mewtwo's half dark gray, but still, the color coordination thwarts us more often than you'd expect. In fact, now that I think about it, usually when a character has an alternate color, there's a dominant color that they get. For example, you'll have Samus, who I guess is normally orange and red, and then she'll switch to green and dark green, which are both still green, which is just one less visual color. I mean, even here in this match, Mewtwo's normally kind of white and purple, but here we have dark gray and gray, so that is one fewer color that's just present on the character. I guess if you count white as a shade, then it could be purple and an extremely desaturated purple, but I consider that more of a loophole. If you pull out a color chart and tell me that something is purple when it's clearly white because it was originated from the purple codex or something, I'm really not going to believe you. I'm just going to say, like, no, the color identification is something we've all mastered by 3rd grade. In fact, now that I think about it, it's something you normally master by 1st grade. It's like a kindergarten level topic. Alright, Mewtwo's just getting hit by a whole bunch of up airs here. He needs to do something different. He finally makes it down and then gets caught in the up air chain again. Mr. Game & Watch at least had the disrespect levels to have a taunt in there. Still got the kill and another one. Now, I can't hold it against him if you use a taunt after you kill the opponent, because that is the one time I'm actually surprised that the CPU doesn't automatically use a taunt. Sometimes the non-amiibo CPU, you'll see them do it a lot. Kind of like a pre-programmed behavior. Game & Watch didn't get spiked. Alright, they both made it back to the ledge. Mewtwo doesn't really suffer for kill power, but he does need to actually hit Game & Watch to get to use any of it. Game & Watch being one of the lightest characters, he should be dying early, but again, if Mewtwo can never hit him, then he's just never going to die. Alright, he switched from up air to neutral air. Jab at the ledge, barely not killing. Game & Watch recovers, not snapping the ledge though. Mewtwo decides not to punish that though. And here we are stuck in the up air chain again. Sorry guys, this might be a very boring match to watch. Oh, neutral air, changing things up again. Game & Watch falls past ledge, does not snap to it. That seems to be one of the Game & Watch amiibo's weaknesses. However, he doesn't seem to be particularly punished for it. And in gameplay terms, if your opponent isn't punishing you for something, just keep doing it. I guess at some point they might try to. So near the end of the game, you might not do the incredibly punishable thing, just in case your opponent's been like secretly trying to condition you the whole time, which is an approach I've seen people take. In my general experience, though, waiting till the end of the game to do one big, I don't know what to call it other than when kids on the playground say like, neener neener, like, haha, I got you. Waiting the whole game to pull that on your opponent once, or if you just do it the second time the opponent tries it on you, then for the rest of the game, you've got an extra mind game where your opponent tries to know if you know that they know that you know that they know, that sort of recursive logic reasoning there. And in that doubt, you can usually get more advantageous situations than just trying to get the hard read kill punish at the very end of the game and letting your opponent get away with it for the rest of the game until then. Game & Watch actually seems to be getting hit a whole bunch now. Mewtwo seems to have finally got his mojo back. Great air dodge from Mr. Game & Watch, able to avoid Mewtwo's forward air there. It's actually called, Shadow Cut? Shadow Cutter? No, it's hard to know all these names, especially since all the Pokemon usually have moves named after Pokemon moves. Oh, Mewtwo did have his double jump, he's able to make it back. He keeps going incredibly low before recovering. Finally learning his lesson. Getting hit by the bomb, though. You can actually hit the bomb with any move you might have. So you can just smack it out of the air. I don't think there's a damage threshold on it either. So you just need to actually hit the bomb and it will despawn and not explode on you. Mewtwo does have a Shadow Ball charged up. It's a little risky against the Mr. Game & Watch because he can absorb it in his bucket and use it against you later. But also, I don't think Mr. Game & Watch has anything in his bucket right now. Projectiles that are strong enough. Double down smash, that's not going to end the game. Forward smash would have done it. Jab coming out just quick enough to save Mewtwo's life. Grounded Spike, not enough to kill. Forward air is, but Mewtwo now has one more stock on a very slippery character. And it looks like he got hit by a forward air, and that's going to be the end of Mewtwo. Alright, now we've got Jigglypuff against Pichu. Curiously enough, Jigglypuff and Pichu are actually the lightest two characters in the game. Pichu being the lightest, being the only character who's lighter than Jigglypuff, who is described as a balloon. And that rest, it's not going to kill Pichu, but it's going to do a lot of damage, especially since I just talked about how light Pichu is. Oh, well, actually, Pichu's only sitting at about 35%. Oh, that's right, the auto heal. Now, I will say, if you're Jigglypuff, this is an infuriating matchup, simply because Pichu's really hard to hit. Incredibly short, one of the shortest, if not the shortest character in the game. Low down to the ground. Jigglypuff the amiibo seems to not have a problem hitting all of these rests, though. Does get killed off the top for not killing off of that rest, but still, Pichu's a really hard target to hit. Especially since, again, being so short and Jigglypuff being so floaty. I'm actually impressed that Jigglypuff was able to get 2 in 1 stock, even. Jigglypuff going for the tech roll. Something you actually usually won't see a Jigglypuff go for. Because Jigglypuff has so many aerials and such a slow fall speed, you're almost never put into a teching situation. Oh, down air actually catches Pichu out. Back air, not enough to kill from the opposite side of the stage. But back air is definitely one of Jigglypuff's killing moves. Jigglypuff gets Pikachu right into its lap, on its doorstep, and yet she can't... Well, I guess she could, but she just did not decide to kill. Oh, kind of getting saved by the platform there. Making it harder for Pichu to punish, and then actually Pichu trying to go for a fully charged smash attack, letting Jigglypuff live. That kill is actually pretty important for Jigglypuff, because at 70%, you're a lot less likely to get killed by a Pichu, whereas a Pichu who's at about whatever percent Pichu was at, it was like 80 or 100. That's when the rage calculations start to factor in, and it's such a light character, any extra knockback you take can be your death. Forward air not killing Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff not knowing what to do when Pichu's holding on the ledge. Pichu actually did have a lot of invincibility there. One of the weakest punishes to Sing I've ever seen. Pichu goes for a Thunder Jolt. Kind of just gets Jigglypuff out of the move early. Both characters just getting a whole bunch of stray hits. Jigglypuff is more of a stray hit character. You take what you can get. Pichu normally gets more combos, I'd say. Weird though that in this game it seems to be that that Pichu's the one that's winning. Jigglypuff's just at such a high percent. Don't think Pichu has a kill throw? No. However, you need to watch out for that back throw, since you do those little somersaults. I guess they're backwards salts? Since you roll backwards, if you're near the edge of a stage, you will roll and then receive the knockback, and on any stage with a walk-off, that will kill you incredibly early. Jigglypuff still not knowing how to punish Pichu when recovering with the Skull Bash there. Jigglypuff barely manages a way to land without getting killed by Pichu. Platform Tech Chase, that's actually when Jigglypuff probably should have used a Sing, simply because no matter which way Pichu rolled, Pichu would have fallen asleep. And I know that Jigglypuff is normally a weaker, lightweight character, but when your opponent's asleep at 100%, you can just charge up a forward smash and kill him. And that's if the amiibo didn't try to go for another rest, which it seems to have learned its lesson from. Both characters not interacting. Pichu healing up all of the self-damage since no one was getting hit. Jigglypuff tries to punish with a down tilt. It's a slow move. It does have a long hitbox, especially for Jigglypuff. And I'm pretty sure it sends at a pretty mean angle. But it just comes out so slow and it requires Jigglypuff, the floaty character, to be grounded. And it's not like it's a particularly fast out of shield option either. Alright, Pichu's starting to get momentum back after taking a lot of hits from Jigglypuff. And a rest out of nowhere. The Jigglypuff amiibo was so good at hitting those rests that most people would never dream of. Alright, and for our final match of the video, we're going to be having Pyra against Mythra. Now, I promise that I randomly seeded this match. I actually didn't realize that both of our two newcomers lost. I guess this does mean that... Lost their first match, I mean. This does mean that one of them is not making it to the tournament guaranteed. The other one is, again, not guaranteed to make it in, but at least won't immediately be eliminated. Now, this will be a little bit annoying to keep track of. So, Pyra is the... Since these are the same character and they can switch between the two models whenever they feel like, they're actually both playing as Mythra right now. Nope, Mythra just switched to Pyra, and Pyra is currently playing as Mythra. So that's going to be annoying. So the Pyra amiibo is the dark purple one, and the Mythra amiibo is the green one. Is that too far to recover? It is! Pyra loses the first stock. Very high up recovery, only getting clipped by one hit of up smash there. Mythra amiibo seems to really like going for that up special. Sent it off stage. The combo doesn't land, however, it still gets the kill. Alright, both amiibo at 2 stocks. Pyra's behind it almost 40%. So, Mythra is a sword character. She's actually probably one of the fastest sword characters in the game. Her sword just travels so fast. Her element is supposed to be light, and Pyra's is supposed to be fire, so that's why Pyra gets all the explosions and Mythra moves at light speed. And that, I believe, has some sort of basis in the games as well. Well, games. They're in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, to be specific. But for a sword character, Mythra just moves a lot faster. Just very fast frame data, great move speed. And of course, when you're Mythra, but not as Pyra, you get the Foresight ability, which is pretty much Bat Within, but not nerfed from Smash 4. If any of you know what that is. Basically, it makes your dodges better. You can actually... They both grab the ledge at the same time, no one gets hit. Alright, everyone makes it back to the stage. Rolling on top of each other. Interesting strategy. I guess these amiibo do share some characteristics in their code somewhere. Oh, I didn't know those moves actually combo. That might be a very percentage-dependent combo. A lot of characters will have that, where they do have a move that true combos into another move, but only within a very specific percentage range. So whenever you get it, you appreciate it, but you normally can't depend on that sort of thing. Air dodging to the ledge, actually grabbing the ledge. Both characters playing as Mythra right now actually having a hard time hitting each other. Because Mythra does have some move speed advantages over Pyra as well, such as actual run speed, stuff like that. That's going to take the stock. Going off stage does not kill themselves though. Pyra's a stock behind. Getting footstooled to death immediately. Well, that was a little anticlimactic. But I guess good job to Mythra for pulling that one through. Even Ends is the right character as well, how fitting. That's it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed. Be sure to stay tuned for all the other episodes. We're going to be having brackets soon. Time-wise, not video number-wise. We're kind of in crunch time because we're at the end of the month here. Until then, though, bye.